So obviously we're going to start with England because that's pretty much why people tune in and watch us. Obviously we're going to be doing a full preview on the France v England game. So I'll put a link somewhere up here so people can watch that if you only want to hear about that. But obviously we're just going to go through them all. But first we're just going to have a quick overview on England versus France. Your thoughts without going into too much detail?
Yeah, yeah, no, I think obviously a brilliant tie. I mean, they're all four are brilliant ties. I do fancy England. I think England are in a position now. The question's always been asked. They struggle against the better sides, and they have, and that's obviously an obstacle they're going to have to overcome because they lost to Croatia and they've lost to Italy. It's
Yeah.
going to be tight. It might go all the distance, but I think I think England win. I think England have got enough about them, and there's enough attacking threat from England going forward, and there's enough youthful fearlessness. Is that a
Mhm.
word? Well, it is. I made it. There's enough of that about now, and there's a belief in that team as well. That they want to go in and they're not shy to say, yeah, we want to go and win it. And I see why not, and I don't see a reason why not as well. They can go the distance. So I fancy him to beat France.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, me too. Obviously, I feel like we have the stronger midfield, and I think that's where the game will be won. I do think there's too much emphasis on France's attacking player, and it may not necessarily come down to that. So I'm hoping for an England win. I'm not as optimistic as you, but yeah, let's hope so anyway. Moving on to the other semi-final, obviously, the winners from the England-France game, we play against either Morocco or Portugal. First of all, your impressions of the Morocco performance in the previous game?
I thought they were really good. I thought they had the better chances as well up until really late when Spain obviously got a bit more thingy. But I thought generally Morocco were really good and they had plenty of opportunities there to get the jobs. They scored a goal. Spain, whenever you play Spain, they're always going to have most of the ball anyway. But I was really impressed with Morocco, and I think Amrabat. I mentioned it. I put a tweet on it as well. I think he's been one of the players of the tournament. The holding
Mm.
midfield player for Morocco, been top notch, really, really good. I think Ziyech and Boufal either side of El Nesri. The front three are good. You've got a guy who plays for Chelsea. You've got a guy who played for Southampton. I don't know where he's at now. Is he still Southampton? And then a guy who plays in front for Sevilla. So these are top players. And then obviously you've got Hakimi, one of the best right backs. You've got Mazraoui, who's a top right back who plays for Ajax, but he's having to play left back. And then you've got Regard and Thingy Saiss, who's played for Wolves, and Regard plays for West Ham. So these are top players. I'm about that said to be one of the best players in the tournament. So, but they're a really good side, and that defensively they're sound and solid. But they've got that bite about them as well. You watch the
Yeah,
Spain game, every time one of the players took the wrong touch and took the wrong turn, and bang, they were straight. There's a really nice nastiness about them.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they just got that nice little edge about them, and they can obviously play. They can play. I
I
just think when they took El Nesri off, they just lacked a little bit
lost
of
a bit.
cutting
Yeah,
edge, lost a bit
yeah,
of fun because they had a guy who came on who looked like he'd play like championship football, probably lower. You know what I mean? He just
yeah.
looked a couple of times he got through, he just couldn't get his feet. So, what about
I
you?
don't know if you I don't know if you remember. I text you, I think, when Spain were playing the final group game. I can't remember who they were playing, and obviously they ended up getting beat, which meant that they
Japan.
could, yeah, Japan game, and they could potentially face either Brazil or Morocco. And I said to you, it's a no-brainer for Spain. Lose the game, and you've got a fixture against Morocco. But you rightly said to me, it's going to be a difficult game, and I hadn't seen Morocco up till that point. And after you told me, I went back through the Moroccan fixtures, and what I noticed, it was like a common pattern. It was they were always the possession was never in their favor, even against Canada. Canada had more possession than, but what they always seemed to have was more shots and more shots on target, more
Yeah.
shots on. Yeah, so it seems like they're a very like counter-attacking team that are quite clinical, almost like a Leicester. The season
I'd
when they won
say
it.
the way they're really efficient with possession. They don't keep the
Yeah,
ball for the sake of it. And you watch when they break the lines, they'll always look to play as well out there from the back. Against
mm-hmm.
Spain, they played a bit more direct, but generally they will. But they play like that because Spain's back line was so high. And a couple of times, if they played the right pass, they were in. So it was just
Yeah,
trying to find that balance. But I think they've been the team of the tournament so far.
mm-hmm.
What they've achieved, and I think that I can actually see them again beating Portugal in that one. It's not, they're beating Spain, and I think they can. In Portugal would probably give you a bit more. They're not going to keep the ball as much, so Morocco would have more of the ball. But I think, I mean, Portugal were really impressive in that. Switzerland, we'll touch on that game. But I think Morocco, again, I can see them progressing through the semi-final. This is one of those World Cups where I don't see it as a standout team, and I stand by that. There's a few, there's some, some good teams. Obviously there are, but there's no one that's like so far ahead of everyone else. We think, oh, they've walked it,
Yeah, the Morocco have actually become my almost like my second team. Like the first Arab nation to get to the quarterfinal, potentially the first Africans to get to the semi-final. So it's absolutely huge. And obviously they knocked out my sweepstake team, as I mentioned earlier. Just your thoughts on. We will move on after this. Just your thoughts on what it'll mean to the Arab nations going forward, and do you think it's kind of like almost like a new bar has been set?
Yeah, I think you've got to. It means a lot to the Arab nations because they've always felt like second-class citizens whenever it comes to the footballing world.
Yeah,
and to an extent, that's fair because they've never done much on the pitch. Like I said, they've never got this far. So you can only get the credit you deserve for your performances on the pitch. But I think the wider issue around that, it has given them the opportunity to speak about and talk about issues that are important to them. I think might have seen Palestine flags being waved with Morocco. Morocco won every time in a Arab team, and there's obviously been keeping that at the forefront of it all. They understand the injustices that have been happening. I thought the timing of there's Netflix film as well called Farah, which is around the Nakba, which is when Palestine got invaded essentially by Israel. So that's it was the timing of that and the World Cup and everything sort of happening at the same time was really, I think it's powerful. I know this don't mix sport or football with politics, but if we go through history, it always mixes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whenever you want to win a bid for a World Cup to host it, you'll get your prime minister or president in, like Russia did with Putin. Like America are going to go and host the next World Cup. So there's a stuff around. I think Qatar made the decision to ban all alcohol around the stadiums, and that was a decision on themselves. And they thought, we've seen how you are when England hosted the European Championships and that. And I was there. We know exactly what it's like. And it was a complete mess. And it's like, well, we don't own that in our country. You're here for 29 days, and then you're going to go, this is our country, this is our culture, we're going to stick by it. Just because it's a football isn't linked with alcohol. There are other parts of the world where they do play football without alcohol. And the World Cup's been brilliant. And I've actually I've seen a few things from women saying they've never felt as safe, which again makes complete sense because you're not going to get like rowdy guys generally. So I think it's been an interesting one because World Cups and one of the things that I like about it being here is, and other parts of the world it will move on to as well, is it gives you an insight into different people's cultures, and it's that opportunity for 30 days for you to really celebrate your own culture. Even the Russia, obviously we didn't know Russia were going to do what they did to Ukraine, but at the time everyone took that on board and like, oh, this is brilliant. You're finding out a history of the country. And it was the same with Qatar as well. And there's a lot of stuff going on. You're seeing that there's still a lot of people mixing, and the part of for me was always mixing with different countries and different cultures. So you've obviously got the country there, but then you've got like South Korea mingling with like Uruguay. Would that ever happen anywhere but football? No. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that just happens, and it's brilliant.
You make a really good point because obviously when it was going to South Africa, they were talking about potential kidnapping, potential carjackings. You go to Russia, you were going to get beat up. You go to Brazil, you were going to get robbed. There was so many different things, and none of those things ever did materialize. Now, the biggest problem that you have is that alcohol won't be served, then you've got a problem because you think
you're an alcoholic.
You think of I don't know if you saw in the news Tenerife, where England and Wales fans, they hadn't even played at that point. They were playing their own separate group games, and all of a sudden they had a massive brawl in the main high street or wherever. And that was the moment where I thought, yeah, they're onto something there. They definitely did the right thing in banning the alcohol. So yeah, each of their own. Like you said, it's good for each country to experience different types of cultures. Moving on to their opponents in the quarterfinals, we've got Portugal, and obviously there's only one story that seems to be kicking. Actually, there's two stories. There's the hat trick of I want to say Ramos. But obviously, we'll start with Cristiano Ronaldo. Your thoughts on him being dropped? I think we only need to look towards the Beating the Press Twitter to see your thoughts. But explain.
Yeah, I think if we look at Ramos, I mean Ronaldo, even whichever team Ronaldo goes now. When I say a big team, if he plays, the team's weaker. The team doesn't play as well with him in it. And he's not like a Messi. He's just a goal scorer. Like Messi's everything else. Messi's like one of the best passers. He's probably the best passer ever. He's the best dribbler. You know what I mean? He's got everything. And you watch Messi play. He influences games. Ronaldo doesn't. And that's like it's a big issue for you in a team. And when you're playing, and you're big like Juve got rid of him. Ten Hag's thought he's not fit for purpose, and now you got Santos as well. The Portugal man. So that's three managers in the bounce. They're not all going to be wrong with it, regardless of how much Piers Morgan bangs his drum. And you've just got to understand that. And Gary Lineker says it. He catches up with everyone, and that's where he is. He's just got to do it, and he's got to understand and do it in the right way. That it's the right thing for his country, and it gives them the best possible opportunity to go through. I mean, I thought it was harsh that Ramos just plays 60 minutes and he scored 3 more goals than Ronaldo in knockout stages. It's like he's just absolutely destroyed him. And
you can see Ronaldo smiling, but inside you
can see it. He's just dying. He's like, this motherfucker.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like this, the argument for, and I'm not going to go right now. It's Messi v Ronaldo. It cements itself in the situation, the time that we're in right now. One is timeless, and one is good in his prime, purely in his prime. He like Ronaldo. I would say the game. How we were saying like Mourinho and them type of coaches. The game's kind of passed them by. It's changed. Like it's almost overnight. The game seems to have changed where you can't afford just to have a number 9 who puts the ball in the back of the net. You also need someone that's going to press. That's going to, now it's almost like the pressing era, where you need 11 players to play a game. You don't just need 10 and then your superstar up front. I even saw Messi bust and I got to close an Australia player. Yeah, and they were 2-0 up at the time, and he was still pressing, and he was calling his teammates forward. So, you do need to continue to do that. I obviously think that Ronaldo still has something to offer. You bring him on with 30 minutes to go, he's going to lift the full team. They still view him as a god. In and amongst their teammates, in and amongst the squad. So he'll still be handy, and I wouldn't bet against him, potentially scoring the winner in the World Cup final. But, for now, he needs to, like you said, gracefully pass on that baton to the next generation. That was
probably the best game I saw João Felix play as well. I thought he played really well. I thought it's just sometimes it helps, doesn't it, when Ronaldo's not playing, the focus isn't on them. Bernardo Silva's their best player for me.
Yeah.
The one that I don't get, not playing, and I'm not giving enough minutes, is Rafa Leao. He's a phenomenal player, by the way.
He is. He's having a great season for Milan as well, isn't he?
And I'm like, he comes and he scores, and I'm like, surprised he doesn't get 2 more time or more minutes, because he's brilliant. He really is absolutely top notch.
Yeah, the players feel like they can express themselves as well. Obviously, without Ronaldo being on the pitch, you almost feel like you have to pass to him. He's not like Messi in a sense where Messi will kind of if he doesn't get the ball, he won't say anything. Ronaldo will give you a look. He'll throw his arms up, and make it known that he's not happy. So yeah, it's maybe a bit freeing for the players that he's not actually playing. So just going, obviously we just went through that review there. You went England potentially in the first side of this quarterfinal. And what do you think between Morocco and Portugal?
I'm going Morocco because I backed him before the Spain. I backed him before the Spain game at 100-1, so I'm going in.
I cannot wait for your semi-final prediction if that comes through. Morocco versus England. That'll be interesting one. Because we always say that England struggle against a low block, and Morocco low block but brilliant counter-attacking. So moving on to the other side of the draw, we have we'll go with the first game, the earlier game in the day, the 3 o'clock kickoff. That's Croatia versus Brazil. Brazil seemed to spank. Actually, Korea seemed to spank themselves with Brazil. What did you think to that game?
There was something that was said, and it was just. It felt European arrogance to me. So Brazil beat South Korea, and they were absolutely smashing them. And it was like, oh, I can't believe South Korea are so naive, and they're letting Brazil, just shut up shop, keep the score respectable, all that sort of jazz. Switzerland were playing Portugal. They were doing exactly the same thing. At no point was that ever, labelled at them to say, right, okay, you're so open, you're allowing Portugal to keep on, and it ended up 6-1. And there was like, you got this powerhouse. I say powerhouse. You got this established European nation like Switzerland that have been at so many tournaments and know what they're doing, but yet they were still now. But that never got thrown at them. So it was interesting the way you look at, and that sort of unconscious bias depending on what part of the world you're from. And I thought that was interesting. But no, I thought Brazil, obviously, South Korea, I just couldn't understand how. I get you want to be aggressive and you want to be. They were leaving 1v1s at the back, so basically 3v3 at the back, that sort of thing. And I'm like, it's Brazil. Do you know what I mean? You got Vinicius Juniors, you got players that are brilliant with the ball at their feet that thrive on 1v1 stuff. And Brazil won it, and it could have been 7 or 8. So yeah, it was. I thought the Croatia-Japan game could have gone either way. That was the interesting one. I would have liked Japan to go through, just to gain another Japan again, just to break another record to get further than they've ever been before. But Croatia's experience sort of. I thought Perisic's header was unbelievable, by the way. I don't know if you saw it from my love run cross. It was right. I was like, he's got no right to score from that. He just absolutely nailed it from where he was.
Yeah, you text me.
But Brazil, yeah, no, they've not played anyone of note. But that's going to happen. I think this is now. I think they've got lucky with Croatia. That could have been someone else. If Japan, obviously, Germany qualified from that, would have been that side. But Croatia is going to be a tough game. I think Croatia aren't going to be as stupid as South Korea or Switzerland. I think it'll be close, but I'd expect Brazil to just edge it. I'd like Croatia to go through, but I think Brazil will just edge it.
Yeah, you're right. I think that the Brazilians have had a little bit of a Southgate look up until now, with essentially what they've played. This is, without being too disrespectful, it's almost their first, like you say, the first real competition. But you make a great point against with the Switzerland thing. I said it as well. I said on the Korean game, I've never known a more a less reactive manager than the South Korean coach. And I was saying yesterday when I was watching the Switzerland, I stand corrected because they were exactly the same. If you go for example, the Koreans, they went 4 up top, basically to push onto the back four. It was almost like 5-a-side. And if you've got quality players that don't sweat under pressure, you've got a keeper in Alisson who can just pick passes. If he's not going to play to the back four, he can just ping it into midfield quite easily. And then all of a sudden, you've got a 4v4 essentially in your own backyard, and obviously they've got a lot more quality. But I thought it was good that Korea came out and they won the second half, which I didn't expect them to. I thought it was only going to get bigger.
I was expecting closer double figures, but
yeah, exactly. And obviously, like you say, Japan versus Croatia. I find it interesting that Modric can't. He's done a lot for Real Madrid this season. He came off early in games, so that could be something which hinders them eventually. His quality shown later on in the game, perhaps against Brazil. But these two, I can't see a winner coming from this side of the draw. This essential quadrant of the draw, because I think they're a little bit underwhelming, both teams. Even though I picked Brazil on my last one, and even though they've got Neymar back, we'll touch on Neymar. Actually, if he scores in the next game, he equals Pele's record for Brazil. Now, goals scored. So, you think of all of the Brazilians that have gone before him. That, regardless of what you think about Neymar, that's some achievement, right?
Oh, absolutely. We get a record. I mean, Giroud's the same. He's not getting the credit he deserves. Neymar, again, you say he's more than just flashy flicks and tricks. The man scores goals. You know what I mean? And he's going to break the record of the greatest Brazilian ever that's played. So, yeah, of course he deserves the respect. It's interesting. I don't actually think he's I think their best player is Vinicius, and that's just that. I think he's more of a threat, and I think he's going to take that mantle away from Neymar as he moves forward. But he's a brilliant player. Just again, there's a thing especially in England of players who do flicks and tricks. They don't, they just deserve to get nailed, as Roy Keane put it, because they were doing the samba dance. It's just it's a very sort of caveman-like mentality in it, and
it's absolutely. If you can't do it in the World Cup, when can you do it? You know, you think of those iconic moments like Roger Miller going to the corner flag. That dance, you know, you'll see that over and over again. Doesn't matter whether you go in 100 years' time, they will look back to the iconic moments, and that will be one of them. You know, who says that the winning Brazilian team where they do the chicken dance with the coach is not going to be one of those moments in the future?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is pure caveman mentality. So moving on to
who do you fancy before we move on?
yeah, sorry. I am going to go with Brazil. I just think that they've got quality at the back, quality up top. I love Lovren, but he was not right for Liverpool maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So you know, as you know, there are those players, and maybe that's a podcast for the future. There's those players that play better for the country.
Of course, Harry Maguire is a prime example. There's
exactly.
Loads.
So you know, it's not going to be a crazy shock if Croatia go through, but I just think with Modric potentially chasing a little bit more, having to go off, you know, 60, 70 minutes like he typically does. I think Brazil will have too much. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a lot closer than the last game. I think Croatia, if they set it up like they did against, like Serbia did against them and frustrated them, I think Croatia have got a little bit more as well. Then obviously South Korea, it's not just relying on Hong Son. And you know, I think Perisic has done well. Kramaric, you know, Modric. The midfield, I think Croatian midfield is better than Brazil's midfield.
Yeah,
and that's the bit where I think they need to sort of put as much and keep the ball as well. It'll be tight, but I think Brazil just, although I prefer Croatia to go through.
Yeah, excellent. So on to the last quarter final. We've got the Netherlands up against Argentina. Netherlands, I think they were the first round of 16 games. So I'm trying to stretch back my memory, but from what I can remember, it was a comfortable victory. Surprisingly, because we kind of were expecting a little bit more from the USA, judging by our previous podcast. I actually tipped them to beat the Netherlands, but fortunately, that didn't materialize. Your memories on that game and what you're thinking of the Netherlands?
Yeah, I remember that game. I thought they played it like an away team, and almost like the underdog. They just let USA have the ball and play in the break and just destroyed them, you know. And yeah, it was comfortable, and they couldn't play defensively. They were really, really solid and strong. The game, obviously, the 2-1, when he went 2-1, obviously America a bit momentum, but then Holland gone the other end and they scored straight away pretty much. So that just killed the game. It's Louis van Gaal. He'll obviously do all the meticulous planning and stuff, but they're up against a great man, which I think just might, you know, it'll favour Argentina just. The Argentina-Australia game, it was 2-0 against Australia. I don't know if you saw the goal that they scored. The guys had a shot. It's going into row Z and someone else found it in the corner. It's just bonkers. They were like so far out of the game, and it's only 2 once that game's changed, and then Argentina obviously held on to win at the end. They had enough chances to win the game. I think did Messi miss a penalty again, or am I dreaming it now?
He didn't.
No, I just feel every time Argentina play him, like Messi misses a penalty, but still ends up being man of match.
Yeah, but he did score a ridiculous penalty. I was actually a ridiculous shot. I was surrounded by like a few people. I watched this game, and one of them was insistent that Messi he clearly like Ronaldo over Messi, and I've got no, you know, I respect that opinion if you've got something to back it up with, but he actually said when he scored the goal, anyone could have done that. He doesn't take into account the fact that, you know, he has to generate that space. He doesn't take into consideration, you know, that every team in the world go out and, you know, the main team talk before they go out is don't give Messi any kind of space. And somehow he still manages to find the space, still manages to find, you know, the touch that comes just before the strike itself. Shout out to Otamendi with the worst touch / assist in the world, which actually took him that. And obviously, he again was the difference. And we mentioned earlier, you know, obviously he was chasing people down even when they were 2-0 up. But the interesting thing that again you just mentioned that it doesn't matter who you are in world football. 2-0 goes to 2-1 with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah,
You can be Argentina.
the worst score, momentum swinger, isn't it?
Yeah, you could be playing against the local boys club and you go within a 1 goal in the last 10 minutes. My God, you're up against it and everybody starts panicking. I don't care who you are. So yeah, just your thoughts on the semi-final. Do we think it's going to be a bit of a cakewalk, or do we think Van Dijk will have
No, it won't
Argentina
be
on
a
the season?
cakewalk, but I expect Argentina to go through. I've backed them as well, so that's handy. So I think Argentina, Brazil from that side for me, and I think England, Morocco for the other side. That's my
Yeah,
predictions.
there's no arguments here. Obviously, we're going to be discussing the results that happened from these games and then preview the semi-finals coming up. But just your early thoughts, looking at that side. Obviously we've done our predictions. I think Portugal will probably get past Morocco. Which continent do you see having the winner?
South America.
Yeah, yeah, it's looking strong, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I just think I think Argentina have got a really good balance about them. They've obviously won the Copa America. They've already beaten Brazil. But
Yeah.
there's something about Morocco. I think they can go deep. I don't know. There's something about Morocco the way they used to perform. And with it being in the Arab part of the world, I do got a sneaky suspicion about Morocco. Constantly getting because they play good football as well. It's not like they're Greece from 2004.
And yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Like, so that you literally read my mind. How does this compare with the Greece win? Like, if they went on to win this, and how does it compare to Leicester winning the league? How does it all compare in the grand scheme of things?
I mean, you're looking at prices. Leicester were the biggest price. I mean, Leicester winning it was a bigger shock because it's over a longer period of time. Whatever they were 5,000 to 1, which is probably about
Yeah.
right. Greece, a tournament, pretty much anyone can win it. Because it's once you're through group stages, you essentially you win 3 games, you win the cup, don't you? Is it round 16 quarter semi? So it's 4, sorry. So you won 4 games, and you can win 4 by 0-0 on penalty shootout. So it's not, even though it's a long shot, but Morocco are a good side. They can play football.
Yeah.
They're a better footballing side than Greece were, and they are a threat going the other way.
Yeah, so you would say that it's probably the biggest national upset.
Oh yeah,
Any
without a
any
doubt. Yeah,
thought?
I
Yeah,
think it'll be
ahead of
bigger than
Greece.
Greece. Yeah, because it's a World Cup, isn't it? And you've
Yeah,
got to think of the teams that aren't there as well. The only disappointment for me is when I know there's a set number of teams that are allowed from Europe and for Africa and stuff, but you've got like really top teams that haven't made it. Like Italy haven't made it. I mean, I know it's their own fault and stuff, but still, it's like you
yeah.
watch Qatar play and then some of the other shit in Costa Rica. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you for your question of the day shortly. Just after this next question, are any of your bets still standing? And more specifically, top goal scorer, obviously Kylian Mbappe leads the way, 5 goals. Have you got any chance? I see you rubbing your head, so that does not look good.
No, it's so my top goal scorer bet I think is dead in the water. I got Lautaro Martinez, who if actually took his chances will probably earn about 8 goals and allowed goals. So he's on the bench now. He's not even playing.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're all live. I've got Morocco each way, so it's as long as they get to the final. I've got Argentina to win it, and I've got 4 really small ones just on player of the tournament.
yeah. Oh, good.
I've got Bellingham's one of them. Pedri's out, so he ain't gonna win it. What else have I got? I've got Modric is another. And I can't remember the last one actually. I've got 4 of it. It was Bellingham, Pedri,
Yeah,
Modric. Yeah, so it's them 3 anyway.
brilliant. Question of the day.
Yeah, question of the day. So I mentioned it in the other podcast as well. It's who do you think has been the most underrated player in this tournament so far? The reason why I'm asking is Morocco, and I mentioned Amrabat as well, who's been phenomenal in that holding midfield, and he hasn't had a mention. There's obviously all of stuff like Mbappe and Messi would be brilliant. Bellingham, quite rightly, but Amrabat for me, has any been any other standout player for you that just hasn't got the credit that he has deserved?
That's a good question. Do you think he has to get to the final in order
Oh
to
yeah.
be the player of the tournament? Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, because I can't. I think you've got to get at least semi-final, haven't you? So you've got to win this and probably final. That's how it normally works. Even if you
yeah.
get the final, you lose, you can still win it. Because I know Messi won it in
Yeah, it'll be
2014 when he
interesting to
already
see.
lost it. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he makes our, team of the tournament, which I'm presuming at some point we will do one of our own, which will go up against FIFA's, of course. Yeah, so that's the that's a quarterfinal preview. We'll obviously be doing the quarterfinal review and also the semi-final preview in our next podcast. Obviously, I mentioned earlier that we'll be doing the full England v France preview. We'll go in depth, all of those things. Kyle Walker, what he's been saying in the press about Mbappe. We'll be doing all that. So again, click on the link wherever we put it. Yeah, that's about it. Enjoyed it up to now. Anything you want to say, Ty?
No, I was going to say enjoy the rest days, but we don't enjoy. We miss the football, don't we? So get the football back on.
Exactly. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below as usual. Cheers, guys.
See you guys. Cheers. Bye.